Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And this is the first video of the day, and boy, have we got a lot of news for you. Honestly, there's a ton of it. Some days you're rooting around looking for a story. Other days, it's an avalanche of stuff. And today is one of those. But I thought we'll start with something a bit light, a bit Nicola Sturgeon-y, and a bit hypocritical. And typical, I think. With the way that of sort of callous disregard to the law again. Although, admittedly, it's not a very serious offence. And it's something that can happen to anyone. We could all possibly have done it. But nonetheless, it goes to show that, for all her supposed infallibility, it goes to show that she's a little bit fallible after all. Although technically, I suppose, it's Peter Murrell's fault. As she probably doesn't own a car. But we will take a look at this just to start the day and see why Nicola Sturgeon is a bit of a tax dodger. Here goes. So Nicola Sturgeon, driven by her husband in an untaxed car in a hugely embarrassing blunder. As I say, it's not the end of the world. It's not the most serious crime that she's been guilty of, or likely to be found guilty of at some point. Let's be honest, it's virtually a nothing in terms of what she could be facing. But even so, it goes to show that, they like to portray themselves as being perfect and never getting anything wrong. And they fail to tax their car. Anyway, the Scottish Tories, said the couple, need this latest brush with the law like they need a hole in the head. Yeah, well... There's a picture of happier times, isn't it? Not anymore, I suspect. They'll be loathing each other. Nicola Sturgeon was spotted being driven by her husband in an untaxed car. The former Scottish First Minister was seen out shopping in Edinburgh, while Peter Murrell was sat in the driver's seat of the black Peugeot. The car tax had not been renewed on the 1st of August and was 8 days overdue. Drivers of electric vehicles do not have to pay for road tax, but they must still get their vehicle taxed. Road tax is due on all vehicles. However, for electric vehicles, at the moment, the tax is set at 0. But you must still tax the car. You must still go through the procedure of taxing it each year, even though it is 0 tax. Because that could change at any time, number one. And number two, they use it as the checking point for things like MOTs and such and insurances. And so all three must be there, I say MOT, assuming it's not 3 years old or whatever, but if it's over 3 years old, MOT. But they use that as the data point for the collection of those datas. And so, it must still be taxed. But of course, they hadn't done it. So even though there was no charge, it was still an administrative error, one that they hadn't done. So, hey, A spokesman for the former First Minister told The Sun it was a simple mistake, which has now been rectified. Yeah, I mean, it goes to show, though, that they just don't exist in the same world as the rest of us. If it was you, me, or anyone else, we'd have had a fine over that. And yet, for some reason, they don't even get a letter, You used to have, I remember back in the good old days, you used to have 14 days grace to allow for postal things. You had to send it off. And then you get a form back and you can go down and sort it all out. But it was, that was a long time ago. That was back when I actually remember cars with starting handles, but let's not get into that. I pointed out something to my wife the other day that in my lifetime, British Rail was still running steam trains. God, I feel old. Anyway, the Scottish Conservative chairman and MSP Craig Hoy said the blunder was hugely embarrassing. He said this is another car crash moment for Nicola Sturgeon and her husband. She and Peter Murrell need this latest brush with the law like they need a hole in the head. He said, I'm sure this was an innocent error, but it's hugely embarrassing for a couple clearly distracted by other matters. Many other matters. Many things that could result in the police knocking at their door. The police probably won't care about a small issue over the non-payment of a 0 amount of tax. But, hey, it's another thing that you can put on the charge sheet. Miss Sturgeon and the former SNP Chief Executive, Mr Murrell, have been arrested as part of the police probe. We all know about that. Arrested, released, no charges. However, police are now looking at other things, embezzlement and whatever, and charges and arrests may yet occur. May. Not saying they will, not saying who, but they may. Anyway, it comes after the SNP's deputy leader also failed to pay his car tax earlier this month. Keith Brown, who was previously Scotland's Justice Secretary, said it was an honest mistake. Well, it's funny, isn't it? Because you've got these two driving a car without insurance. Keith Brown, earlier this month, also driving a car without insurance. And that's not all I've just seen, because the one I was going to mention, I've just seen it coming up. Sources close to Mr Brown said he had not driven the Volkswagen Passat while he was untaxed, as he'd been out of the country. And that's fair enough. That's happened to me. SNP, this is where I was going though, SNP leader Hamza Yousaf was slapped with a fine for driving without insurance in 2016 when he was the Scottish Transport Minister, which he also said was an honest mistake. It's funny, isn't it, how all of them seem to be doing these honest mistakes. You don't drive a car without insurance as an honest mistake because you get reminders. And so if you haven't, then you know. There's no way you don't know. Anyway, Miss Sturgeon's spokeswoman said no tax is paid on the car as electric, and so no money has ever been outstanding. That's not the point, though, is it? A reminder notice from the DVLA was not received to re-register the vehicle for tax. I don't believe that. I do not believe that, because the DVLA send them out. So this 8-day delay was a simple mistake which has been immediately rectified. And that's fair enough. I'm not gonna slate her for that. We've all been in those positions where things have happened. I was actually out in the country when a car ran out of MOT, and I did it as soon as I got back. But obviously wasn't driving the car or anything. But it's just on top of everything else that's happening to them. They just can't cut a break, do they? Well, they bring most of it on themselves. But yeah, there we go. Just a little nice story there to start the day. So I shall round this one off. I'll come up and round this one off, and then we'll get into the more serious stuff. But I do like to start a little bit light and frothy. Puts us all in the mood. Coming up. You know, in the grand scheme of things, it's a nothing. It really is a nothing. It's not anything that you'd sort of worry about if it was you. But given everything that's going on with them, you'd think they'd be a bit more careful. And also, there's no way you don't know your car needs taxed. You do get reminders. There's no getting away with it. So if they haven't done it, it's probably laziness more than forgetfulness. But it goes to show, though, that despite they always sort of come out and say, oh, we know best, we do everything right, we never get anything wrong. And yet here, straight away, is evidence that yes, they do. It makes them fallible. And if they're fallible in this, then they're fallible in other things. And all of a sudden, that sheen of perfection starts crumbling and falling away. It was never there, really, was it? We all know that they're bloody awful people. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and remember, there is more to come. There is a lot more to come, especially with these two, but the whole of today, there's going to be, I've got tons to get through. So do keep watching, and if you haven't yet, do please subscribe. That'd be great. Thank you. Bye.